welcome to a new episode of Showing Up Solo. These days, it's not enough to be a small business owner. You also have to be an online marketing expert, an accountant, a website designer, a content creator, and the list goes on. You know how important marketing is, but if you're spending all your time selling your services, how will you have any time left to actually provide them? That's where Showing Up Solo comes in. Showing Up Solo is a video podcast giving you the ins and outs of online marketing from solopreneurs just like you. Tune in every other Wednesday for easy-to-implement advice, guest experts, and plenty of food analogies. Thanks for tuning in, and now, on to the main episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Showing Up Solo. Today, I am joined by Mike Dallas-Petersen, founder of the Intergrator Academy. Mike, I would love for you to just share with our audience a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. And so Mike Dallas-Petersen, I'm also a Canadian living in British Columbia here. And so a little bit about me is I got started back in 2017. I was, and I don't know how far you want me to go back, but I was a tire guy. I did management. I was sick and tired of the corporate rat race and, making a lot of people money and stuff like that. And so my first son was born and I was like, that's it. I'm out. I need to spend more time with him. I got all the I call the boomer comments because I'm a millennial, but I got all the comments of like, I was back at work before I changed my son's first diaper and things like that. And so it didn't sit well with me. So I got out pretty quick, a couple of weeks after that. And I haven't looked back. I did the affiliate marketing. I did the social media marketing agencies. I've done, you name it, I've done an MLM and I did it. And one of the things that always stuck out to me was helping businesses basically start and set up their systems. And I didn't realize I had that kind of gift until I started a brand new tire craft in the town that I was there, because I had to go back to work because I wasn't making enough off of my day-to-day stuff online. And then I was like, man, like I just helped this guy build a brand new business from scratch and all the marketing, everything like that. And he's, we made $250,000 in the first 4 months, and I was like, man, like this is crazy. So I reached out to all my old affiliate buddies and all my old MLM buddies. I was like, do you want me to help you there? And they're like, yeah. So I started just doing what I call remote integrating, which is just, I basically glue the internet together with software, if you will. I like, it's kind of an easier term than saying I'm an integrator. I glue the internet together one software at a time, and I use a number of tools to do that and just help businesses not only like save money, but save time and just, become more organized and, stress-free, if that makes sense. So
yeah, well, I think tech is a huge roadblock for a lot of our audience. Our audience are generally older millennials, maybe Gen Xers, so not necessarily born with a cell phone in their hands. Right. And I have heard from a lot of clients that I've worked with that the tech is a roadblock. Like maybe they hired someone to build their website, but they have no idea how to update it. Or upgrade it when a new version comes out, or someone set up an email funnel, but they don't know how to. I have one client who calls me every 6 months to help him change the date on this one opt-in form. And I've done lots of tutorials, but we'll just,
Yeah.
But so tech can be a real barrier. And with marketing being such an essential part, especially when you're a solo online service provider, you have to be out there promoting yourself.
Right.
You can't just let tech stop you.
No, and you can't just rely on, hiring expensive marketers and expensive, people out there, on retainers trying to, fork out all of your hard-earned money to, do some basic things that you are most likely just too scared to learn. You're just, I find that most entrepreneurs that have this fear of tech just don't realize actually how easy a lot of it can be. And generally they're taking advice from people that want their money. So they're using more difficult software. Maybe they're using software that was, is meant for the more elaborate business models or something along those lines, right? And so I like to just share a lot of the softwares that I use with a lot of the business owners that I work with, to make it easy so it is self-service. So there is no huge learning gap, and it isn't something that you need to phone a 1-800 number and sit on hold for 3 hours to put in a ticket to change a date or something. So you know what I mean? So I mean that's very dramatic, but at the same time it's
no, but it's true.
Just not needed. It is.
Yeah, I'll have my little I like to rag on MailChimp because I've had way too many clients who just have no idea how to navigate it. I've even had a client who has been in business for herself way longer than I have, and phoning me up, just pick my brain for 30 minutes to help her figure out where something is in MailChimp.
Right.
Like, so I often, if I see a client who doesn't know how to use it, like it's just beyond them, I'm like, move to something like Flowdesk, because Flowdesk is just super simple. There's 4 tabs and like it is, and it doesn't have the bells and whistles that some things like, MailerLite or ActiveCampaign might have, but it is very, very simple to understand. And I'd much rather you do something simple and do it right than not do something at all because you don't understand what you're working with.
I live on software every day of my life, and I still find MailChimp confusing. So I'm not like, you're not, whoever you're talking to, whoever that person is, I'm telling you, I still like, I immediately red flag, let's leave. Let's get out of here. I will help you move everything you need over here. Let's get to something a lot more simple. Right. And so, I also find like, if you move someone to a software that is, easier to navigate and it's a little bit more simple, I agree with that. And I like that, as long as that's only what they're doing. I find that like, if they're going to be doing things like, maybe forms or surveys, or they do want to do their own websites, or they want to have, maybe a chat widget on their website or something like that, or they want to have a basic CRM or something like that, I like to move clients to something that may be a little bit more complicated than, a basic email provider, but that has everything all in one. So they're not going and hiring a remote integrator like myself to integrate one software with another software with another software, and then have to phone me and go, hey, I want to fix this now, or hey, I got a new campaign I'm doing, I want to add this in here now, and can you help me with my Zapier account to connect this and this? And so I really like to push all my clients to something that has more features and something that can be turned on as they learn more, right? So turn off the majority of them, and then as they're ready to take on more, you turn on another feature and another feature and another feature as they go, and then they don't get too overwhelmed, right? So just like you were explaining with emailing, you get a software and you turn off the majority of the features and they only have emailing, but then you could turn on forms and surveys, and then maybe funnels, and then maybe membership sites or websites or blogs or whatever it might be, right? So
yeah. So, okay, now I'm curious. What's your favorite software to recommend?
So I have a number of favorite softwares, and everyone's heard of, say, HubSpot. And HubSpot to me is extremely expensive. And the only other software that I found that was good, but HubSpot is a very good software, right? But it's very expensive. All the features, and they charge per contacts and users and all this kind of stuff. It's damn near criminal, in my opinion. I use a software called Go High Level, and so or High Level, if you will. And Go High Level or High Level, whatever you want to call it, has a bit of a bad name as of recently, just because there's a lot of like affiliates out there pushing it, right, and just trying to get people on it. And what the key I tell people is, if you're going to go and use a software like Go High Level, you find a person like myself who's either white labeling it, that has a nice coaching program around it, right? And so a lot of times with I call them the OG high levelers. I've been using High Level since 2018, and I have an entire weekly coaching program. So every Tuesday at 1:00, you can join my calls and you can ask me anything you want. We can go through anything you want, and it's included in the subscription. So you don't have to go and spend extra money. You don't have to, hire someone. You can just, if you can't wait a week, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or less than a week, right? And so I use that. And the only reason I use it is because it has a built-in Zapier, right? If you really want it. It's got funnels, websites, blogs, membership sites, surveys. I think I said forms and surveys. It's got the trigger links, email campaigns, It's got the like the HTML email builder, so you can build nice, beautiful branded emails and stuff like that. It's got a CRM. It's got dashboard reporting. It's got, you can plug in your Facebook and your Google ads and your TikTok ads to it. And it also does like Google My Business, so like 5-star review campaigns and all of this stuff. So it does all of this stuff, but you can turn off almost all of it and then just deal with what you want to deal with at the beginning and then move into more, right?
Yeah, wow, that's so much stuff that it can do.
Yeah.
One of the ones I've also heard of is like a good kind of cover all your bases. I work with a lot of coaches, so Kajabi is one that is quite good for having a lot of the bases covered.
Right. Yeah.
I also look at things that are like, even if they have all the bells and whistles, like really, really easy interfaces, and maybe something that has built-in design features, because not everyone is a designer. And so something that you can just, it's fine, I can click this template and it's gonna look good.
Yeah. That's my favorite feature. That's my favorite feature is the one thing that Go High Level does extremely well, and same with Kajabi and all that, is that you can go in, and I do a webinar every Friday around now, where we it's called How to Build a Funnel in Under an Hour. And everyone joins it because they're like, there's no way you can build a funnel in under an hour. There's no way. And I just basically go in and I start the first 5 minutes and I just pick a template from there and I grab it in and I edit some titles and stuff like that and I save it and I'm done. Right. And so most people are like, oh my gosh, it's like that easy. And so I always get on and do that. But again, like you said, like all the hard work's already been done with all these softwares, regardless of whether you're using ClickFunnels, you're using Kajabi, you're using Teachable, you're using Thinkific, you're using Go High Level or whatever it might be. They're all going to have like 1,000 templates in there that you can just go pick one. And then you have this huge, boost in it being done for you, if that makes sense. Right. So, yeah, that's why I like templates, like you said there.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording about some of the work that you do. And you mentioned that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that a lot of solopreneurs and business owners just have not set up their marketing properly, for want of a better word. What are some of the common kind of mistakes that you find when you meet an online service provider that could be costing them extra money or time?
Yeah. So the number one is that everyone overthinks it. Everyone overthinks marketing, and the majority of the marketing that I like to really talk about, like, isn't the ads and the shiny stuff. It's like the stuff that people really truly dislike, and that's the emails and the campaigns and the nurture sequences. Because no one really has a proper system, in my opinion, in place to properly nurture someone from I don't barely know who you are to, oh my gosh, we're on a first name basis. Let's buy your stuff. And so no one really has a true sequence or true methodology, if that makes sense, to actually doing that. And so I first and foremost, I always say, people are like, oh, well, a nurture sequence is going to take so long. I got to hire someone to make all these emails and then I got to space them all apart. And I'm like, well, how many webinars have you done? How much content have you done? How many 1 hour calls have you done with your clients or, in your coaching? And they're like, well, tons. And I'm like, well, why don't you take that entire thing, transcribe it, throw it into something like ChatGPT or something along those lines, get it to summarize it for you. And then you break that entire 90-minute webinar into 10 or 15 different smaller emails that break up, maybe it was the 10 points to do this or the 5 points to do that. And you break that up into all those emails. And then you take those nice 10 emails that you have and you break them up even further, right? Into even smaller emails. And what you do is, what I do anyways, is I take and I break up all of those emails into lanes, marketing lanes. There's a really good marketer out there named Scott Oldford, if anyone's ever heard of him, but he has this method called the SSF method, the sidewalk, slow lane, fast lane. And it's truly, amazing, but you're just repurposing a lot of the content you already have into a marketing lane let's call it the slow lane. And you're just taking those emails and you're just breaking them up into like those 10 points, right? You get 10 different emails. And then you take those 10 different emails and you break them up even further into smaller bite-sized things that people who barely know you can read and they're going to enjoy. And you put that into a sidewalk lane, right? And so I like doing that. And this goes extremely in depth, so it probably won't go too far. But what I like to do is when people are first entering your funnel or whatever it is, and maybe they've opted in, but they haven't taken the next step into whatever it might be, I like to put them into a sidewalk lane because I know that they're not quite ready. They were a little bit interested, but they don't really know who you are. And so I put them into sidewalk lane. And that sidewalk lane is very, very bite-sized, maybe paragraph emails, very small, right? Your attention span in that lane is about 3 to 5 minutes, right? That's it. That's all you got with them, right? Maybe less, right? And so you want very structured branded emails and very short and to the point. And I use a system called lead scoring. And many people may have heard of it, maybe not, but Going Level, Active Campaign, they all have lead scoring. And so when someone takes an action, like opens up an email, I give them 0.5 of a score. If someone clicks on something inside my email, I give them 1 point on the score. And if someone replies to my email, I give them another point. And so what happens is as they're going through my sequence, right, they're getting more points. And then say, for example, they get to 10 points, I automatically move them up into the next lane, which is the slow lane. And when they get to the slow lane, the content's a little bit longer. Now it's 5 to 15 minutes worth of content. Maybe it leads to a blog. Maybe it leads to a video. Maybe it leads to somewhere else, right? And so as they're going through all of that longer content, they're going to know you. You're going to do, it's more casual this time, right? It's more testimonial based, possibly, right? They're going to be able to watch more videos, and that you can take them out of the email and take them to somewhere where you can pixel them maybe and retarget them on Facebook. And so you take them through that, and then eventually they get enough of a score, maybe they get to 20. Now they're in the fast lane. That fast lane is like super casual, the first name basis. They know exactly who you are. They know your solution. They know their problem, and they're going to want to sign up with you. But this whole thing from left to right, one lane to the next lane, is completely automated, right? All you have to do is just build the initial infrastructure of a few emails here and there, and you're good to go, right? And you just space them in far enough apart that you have 3, 4, and 5 months worth of emails. And it's from content that you already have, right?
So I love this. I don't know how much you've listened to our previous episodes, but Nicole and I are all about repurposing your existing content. We even have a freebie called Full Circle Content, which is basically a guide to coming up with your marketing content, where you go on something like Answer the Public and you find out like some questions your audience are asking. Then you just like record a video, and then you transcribe it, and then you chop it up into other pieces. And all of ours is very similar to what you've described, but for like creating social media content and possibly email newsletters. So what you've described fits really really well with the methodology that we're always promoting, which is to just work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Do one big piece of work and then chop it up into as many pieces as you can, like cannibalize the heck out of it.
And every time you do more content, you just make a couple more emails that you just built it into the SOP of what you're doing already. And then you just add it to the end, and you just have this never
drop it in the content bank, and then it's there.
Yeah.
And and you can like, and I love the thought process of the sidewalk and then the slow lane and the fast lane. I'm always using the analogy with clients about, for example, social media marketing is like window shopping. It's the fancy window display. And then once they walk into the store, that's where you'll find that I think that's the equivalent of your slow lane, where you start to browse the store. And then when someone comes in, starts talking to you and selling you stuff, that would be more like the fast lane. But I'll often find clients coming to me saying, I need my social media managed. And I'm like, yes, but you haven't filled your store yet. There's like, we can't do the window display until we've made sure that there's stock in the store and there's people there to sell the content, like to sell your products. And is that something you come across as well?
100%. Yeah. Like I find that like, for example, I'll just use an example. I've got a client and they have an Airbnb coaching offer, and they have about, I think, 70 properties that they have. So they're very successful and they're running this. And I've built this entire marketing thing for them. And I've taken this one webinar that they have. It's about a 90-minute webinar. I've made over 33 emails from it and about 10 different lead magnet assets from it. Right. And it didn't take that long. Right. And so the cool thing is like all this repurposing that I've done has also led to literally lead magnets that are going to put people into my sidewalk. Right. And so I don't know what people like, or I don't know what people are going to be attracted to. And I don't know, I can guess. One of my favorite sayings is gold isn't where you think it is where you find it. And so just because you think something's going to work doesn't necessarily mean it's going to, right? You have to test. And so I like that you make as many different lead magnets as you can. You throw it out into the wild, right? Or whatever. You throw it up on the window, like you're saying, right? And then you see which one draws the people in, right? And so you never know. And so we have these 10 different assets and 10 different lead magnets, and we're finding that some of the more simple concepts are actually driving our lead cost extremely down. Like we're getting a lot of emails coming in, going through all of this, right? And so yeah, it's definitely something that like you already have everything there. Just repurpose it into the slow lane, repurpose it into the sidewalk, and then repurpose a lot of that into lead magnets, whatever it might be. I have a full-time graphic designer. He's from the Philippines. I pay him $5 an hour, and he is a machine, and he will pump out things faster than you can even. I'll probably get 4 or 5 different assets a day, and then he's just watching videos, going through that, and then he's micro piecing some of that content, pulling it up, and he'll grab that micro piece of like a podcast or something like that, and he'll grab that, and then he'll make an asset on like what I talked about, and then that'll be a lead magnet right then and there, and it's just like always happening in like right now, you know what I mean? And so I mean, for the solopreneur and stuff like that, it's the same concept. You can do the exact same thing. You can you just got to put the time aside and do it. But I mean, as long as you stay organized and and you have that methodology and that the SOP, if you will, and you'll do it the exact same. And most people overthink it. They're like, well, what if someone doesn't click on it? Well, then make 10 more, and then you'll find the one that they do want to click on. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
You've got to keep putting it out there to test it. It's funny because what you're saying about having it all kind of going on in the background. I spent my December chopping up a year's worth of podcast episodes into videos that we could put on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. And then I sat down and just pre-scheduled them all. And I had a conversation with like a industry peer the other day. She's like, "Oh, you're killing it. You're posting so regularly." And I'm like, "No, I haven't like posted in ages, but I'm posting twice a week because I scheduled it back in December, and it's just going out there automatically." And so the impression that the world is getting is that I'm still very much on top of it all. I'm out there and I'm talking regularly, but me personally, I can take a back seat from that until I need to refresh the content bank. And I think that's really important, especially when your time is limited as a solopreneur, to find a way to automate it as much as possible.
Yeah, stay ahead, delegate. I think what's the saying? They go, eliminate, automate, delegate. So eliminate what you don't need, automate what you can't eliminate, and then whatever you can't automate, you delegate, right? And then it should be in that order every time. And so, a lot of the content stuff and like the repurposing, you probably cannot automate a lot of it. You probably have to delegate some of it. But after that, once it's all ready to go, you throw it into Go High Level as a social media poster, right? So you throw it into there, you build your calendar up, and you get going, right? And then at the end of the day, like, every week, if you have someone doing that for you, you always have this perpetual content machine just constantly getting full, and like the perceived value that people are getting and the amount that you're doing is just like tenfold, because you're taking an hour-long podcast and you're dumping it into 5 weeks or 6 weeks of content that people are like, oh my gosh, she's doing so much, or he's doing so much. And it's like, well, no, it was a 90-minute webinar, but because you're being so consistent and it's up there and it's being scheduled, and the perceived amount of value you're adding is a lot more than it would be if you weren't, right?
Yeah, and we're big fans of batching. Nicole and I will get together and batch 6 months worth of episodes in a day, which is exhausting, but like we don't need to worry about it then. Like we have all the episodes for up until June, like from January to June, and then we'll do all of June till December, and we just batch them and then they're just ready to go. And so like if you batch things like that and then you chop it up and you find a way to automate it, like you use a software. We like meet Edgar as our social media scheduler, because it can give you prompts for captions. Although a lot of them are now integrating AI. I like Tailwind, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with Tailwind. But they've got a ghostwriter now. So you can now design your graphics in there. It'll ghostwrite captions for you, and then you schedule it. So you could just like have it all in one place and just plug it in and then not have to worry about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy where things are going, right? And as long as you've got a means to track it, I mean, doing what you're doing means nothing if you don't have numbers, in my opinion. So just like with every business, so as long as you're being able to, track the views, and then inside of whatever you're posting, you have a link, and maybe you're using UTM parameters or something along those lines, right? You could just do something as simple as UTM_source equals this video name, right? And then that way, when they're clicking and they're going to wherever the blog or the video or the longer video of what you cut up, they're going there, at least you can then track if they opt in that they came from that video, that YouTube video, or that short or that reel or whatever it might be, right? Because at the end of the day, views are great, right? But then clicks and opt-ins are even better. And I find that there's always a massive disconnect. People are like, well, I got my lead cost down to XYZ. And I'm like, cool, well, how's your acquisition cost? It's like, well, it went up. I was like, well, is it better or is it not better? So maybe the content that you were getting, that was getting fewer leads, but leading to more sales is actually what better. So understanding that correlation as well is huge as well, because it's not always about views, not always about likes, it's not always about that. It's about the click-through rates and the opt-ins and things like that, right? So
that's one of the things we're always talking about is it's not about going viral or like getting a huge audience. Like if someone comes to us and say, I want to grow my audience, my first question is why? Like, what do you want to get out of it? Are you looking to book more coaching clients or to sell more product? Or are you looking to become a thought leader and therefore want to get the message out further? Like, what is your actual reason? Because it's not about having a huge audience, it's having the right audience. And that you curate the right audience by putting out relevant content. And so it is a numbers game, but it is also not about how big the number is. It's about testing it.
Right. And I think instead of growing your audience, like your visual audience, right, your followers, your subscribers, whatever it is, instead of doing that first, grow your email list first. And I can tell you from experience that growing your email list first and then your audience is going to substantially increase not only your revenue, but it's also going to exponentially grow your subscriber base and stuff. I've worked with a lot of big brands, so I've Minority Mindset or Max Maher or Financial Education, Ryan Pineda, a lot of those financial YouTubers. I've worked with a lot of them, and some of them have 1.5 million subscribers and stuff like that, or 900,000 subscribers. Some of them, when I started with them, they were 100,000 subscribers. They're up at like 900,000 now. But it's what we've always consistently done is built an email list, right? And we've done that first because the number, your email list is worth, in my opinion, $1, right? Every email you have is worth $1. But your subscriber, not necessarily, it's not always going to land on their inbox. They're not always going to scroll through and see it on YouTube or whatever it might be, right? But in their email, it's always going to hit their inbox as long as you have a proper domain authority and IP reputation and all that kind of stuff, right? So
I always talk about it. People on social media are in a passive mode. You're on the toilet and you're scrolling, getting your 5 minutes away from the kids, but you're very passive. It takes a lot. It takes like a really good piece of content to activate them enough to go to a link in bio and go to your website and fill out a form. Whereas your email, there's already if your subject line is good enough to get them to open the email, you've already activated them out of scrolling mode. So it's a more engaged audience. So I completely agree that
I call that
should always be a priority.
I call that distraction marketing.
Distraction marketing.
Basic distraction marketing, because when you're scrolling, right, you have to distract the person, right? That's the entire goal. The entire goal of Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it might be, or YouTube, I think they're shorts, right? Is distraction marketing. You got to distract them better than the other person. Like that's the goal, right? That's the goal, right? And so with email, it's somewhat of the same thing, but most people are going to be going through all their unread messages in order for the most part, right? And they're not going to be just swiping past it, going to the next one. They may delete it, sure, absolutely, but if you've built enough trust, then they probably won't. But they're not going to swipe you, and they'll never see that video again. Right? They're going to be, your email is always going to be right there. Right. So it's a lot of people say email lists are dead, but I know one entrepreneur that, I know entrepreneurs that have, 500,000 emails on their list. And I know some entrepreneurs that have 22,000. And I know that sometimes when that 22,000 email list guy sends out an email, he'll make 100K in a month, right? And then you get the 500,000 and he'll make, just as much. And you're like,
Yeah. Because it's all about curating the right audience, right? Because obviously the guy with the lower audience count has curated the right audience for what he's selling.
Yeah, so it's the intimacy. It's the it's relevancy to get them in, right? Relevancy, right? You need to be relevant to your audience. You need to get their email and all that. And the only way you're going to do it is having relevancy. And then it's omnipresence, right? Trying to be everywhere in their email and their retargeting on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And then it's intimacy, right? And then after that, it's being really close and direct, and then hopefully a sale, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we could probably talk about this for hours and hours and hours,
yes.
But in the interest of our audience's valuable time as solopreneurs, what would be your key takeaway or biggest piece of advice for online service providers who are looking to tackle marketing and all the tech and know-how that goes into it? What's like your piece of advice for them as they're starting out on this?
Stop thinking it's difficult. Number one, like I would say that I run a big group on Alignable, and I do that, how to build a funnel in under 1 hour. And the majority of the people get on there, I would say at least 40 plus, right? At least. And every single person that gets off that call is like, oh, really? It's that easy? And it's that easy. It's really that easy. It's just everyone has this perfection or complexity creep, whatever it might be, before they've even got there. You know what I mean? They've already given up before they've even started. And if you find someone like myself or yourself to explain it, it's significantly easier than they're expecting. So that would be the number one. Number two is find something that has what you need and what you're going to need. And so I like to say that when people are trying to find a software, you want to have the features that you need in this exact moment right now, but you also want to look into the next 6 to 12 months and go, does it have what I need there as well? Because the hardest part I find is when people are like, well, I'm going to go with this and I recommend something different. And then in 6 months, they're like, hey, could you migrate me over to what you suggested? And it happens all the time, it's like, told you so. I don't say that, but in my head, I'm like, but I would say, like, just start there. Start with something that has exactly what you want, but also what you're going to need. Even if you don't think you're going to need it, even in the next 6 to 12 months, just get it going, because then you'll know it. You'll know everything about it. And then you're not going to relearn something else, right? And then find something
that's more efficient if you've gotten a chance to get to know it.
Yes,
because even if you haven't used those features yet, you're so familiar with the software that your learning curve is much shorter.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the next feature isn't that bad. And then especially with like softwares, like say, for example, Go High Level, it's every feature it has is connected by one place. It's called workflows or automation, like Zapier, right? It has one feature in there that connects everything. And so as soon as you learn how to connect the one thing that you're working on, then when you go to the next feature, you're like, oh, well, now I just use this in the exact same place and I add it here. And then it's that much easier just to add it all in, right? And so yeah, I would say, lastly, find someone that doesn't want to charge you $1 million to also show you how to do all that kind of stuff too. Find communities that are actual, like, genuine communities, and only go to Fiverr if you really need to. Only go to Upwork if you really need to. But if you could find a community like Alignable is a gold mine for solopreneurs and people even just starting out or that aren't great with tech, because they are doing probably 100 tutorials or events a week right now in all different manners. Like, there's tax and money and automation and funnels, webs, everything, right? So I'd find that I would get on Alignable. It's free. You can join any group you want to, and you can join any event and stuff like that, and you'll get a tremendous amount of value.
Yeah, I do have an Alignable account, but I have been guilty of, I focus a lot on LinkedIn because I actually, it's one of the services I offer is helping people optimize their LinkedIn profile.
Right.
But you've made me want to update the old Alignable profile and get in there a bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely more small business related. Like, I think LinkedIn's really good for like the person or the individual, if that makes sense. And then Alignable is really good for like the actual business itself. And I have a group, it's called Automation Strategies for Small Business. And you go into that group, there's probably 2,000 people in there now. And every Friday we do a we do a call, and it's free. We don't charge anything. We don't even pitch on the call. We just give value. That's it. Ask what you want.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I also, just coming back to what you're saying about finding people who will show you how to use things, even that's what I'm always telling people, even if you're planning to outsource it, understanding the ins and outs and understanding how and why things are working in your marketing and what their function is will help you make better decisions when it comes time to outsourcing. So yes. It is so valuable to have someone who can explain why everything is there. Like what
you can't teach what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
When I was in tires, so I did tires for like 9 years. I was in management, the whole thing. And everyone was like, I want to get on the counter and sell. It's like, okay, well, until you've done every type of tire, that's not going to happen. And people didn't like that. But then when they got on the counter, they're like, wow, I get it. Now I understand why. It's because I know how to do the OTR. I know the commercial, the light truck, the passenger, the wheelbarrow, whatever it might be, right? Like I can take a phone call for a guy up at a mine and go, oh, that tire, oh, that problem. Oh, okay, we'll send you with the right stuff. And so it's the same thing, I guess, with your own business, right? If you can't do it and you don't know it, then how are you going to teach it? And how are you going to effectively, right? And then all you're going to do is you're going to blame your VA, or you're going to blame someone else, other than yourself,
exactly.
Right? And it's just not fair.
It's just not fair. No, totally. It's going to cost you way more money because there's going to be this huge friction zone learning curve session while they're noted, because I've been that VA where you're like, oh, but you just don't have all of these things set up. And if you just did this, it would be so much simpler. Or, there's like a gap in knowledge, and it's just so much smoother if everyone at least knows it, even if they're not if they're not the person putting it into action.
And
anyway,
just
thank you
slow
so
down.
much.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and just slow down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right. If everyone could just slow down a little bit, just a time, not a lot, just a little bit. And then I think it would work out a lot better. Just take that extra minute, maybe every couple tasks that you're doing, to really just think about it. And I find that that helped me out a lot. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mike. Where can our listeners find you if they want to start picking your integrator brain?
Pretty much everywhere. So Facebook's a really good place. You can get me on Facebook. I have there's probably 100 profiles trying to pretend to be me, but it's the only profile that's got like 15,000 followers on it. The other place is Alignable. You can find me on Alignable, especially if you're a solopreneur. Find that automation strategy group, and then I'm in there. You'll see me as a leader, or you just search my name. And then other than that, you can just probably hit up the integratoracademy.com, and I'm there as well. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And until next time, don't let marketing scare you. Just dive right in. Thanks for listening. If you're a fan of the Showing Up Solo podcast, you can show your support by liking, commenting, sharing, or leaving a review. Want to spend less time on your marketing and make better content? Head to showingupsolo.com to grab your free copy of our Full Circle Content Guide, the same time-saving method we use for creating our own content. Need more help getting your marketing in order? Learn how to build a marketing plan while working smarter, not harder. Our Setup for Success package gives you everything you need to create a marketing plan that is low maintenance, high impact, and perfect for generating consistent leads. Head to showingupsolo.com for more info. See you next episode.